The town beneath the town. The next morning, Ethan found mud on the floor by his front door, not from the night before, but fresh. A single footprint. Someone had been inside. He called Claire. By noon, they were standing outside the boarded-up entrance of the old courthouse basement. Claire had a pry bar, Ethan had a flashlight. "This is where they used to hold town meetings before the new hall was built," Claire said. "If there are tunnels, this is where they'll be." The wood gave way with a groan. The smell hit them first, damp earth, mildew, something older. The stairs creaked under their weight as they descended. The beam of Ethan's flashlight found brick walls, carved with dates and initials. Some of them were over 100 years old. At the far end of the basement, they found a heavy iron door. Its surface was etched with the spiral. Claire exhaled. "Guess we're in the right place." The door wasn't locked. It swung open with a metallic shriek, revealing a narrow passage sloping downward. They followed it for what felt like forever, until the passage opened into a massive underground chamber. And there, in the dirt floor, was a spiral carved as wide as a house. Candles lined its edges, their flames still burning. "Someone's been here recently," Claire said. Ethan's wrist throbbed. He knelt, tracing the spiral with his fingers. The air seemed to vibrate, like a low hum deep in the ground. Then they heard voices. Two men stepped into the chamber from another tunnel. They wore plain black clothes, the same as the ones who'd chased them weeks ago. Ethan and Claire ducked behind a stone pillar, holding their breath. "Next gathering is tomorrow night," one man said. "The sheriff wants everyone ready. The teacher will lead it, whether he knows it or not." Ethan felt Claire tense beside him. When the men left, Claire turned to him. "They're planning something. And they're planning it around you." They made their way back to the surface, emerging into the late afternoon sun. The quiet streets of Willow Creek suddenly looked different, like they were sitting on top of something alive. That night, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the spiral in the earth. He dreamed of walking it, step by step, as the candles flared higher and higher. When he woke, there was dirt on his hands. Claire was waiting outside. "You were down there again, weren't you?" "I don't remember going," Ethan said. Claire's expression was grim. "Then the spiral's not just calling you anymore. It's taking you." The following evening, Willow Creek gathered for the annual fall bonfire in the town square. Families laughed, music played, but Ethan felt the weight of the map in his pocket, the spiral map. When the fire was lit, he noticed something no one else seemed to see. The 8 roads leading into the square glowed faintly, like molten lines under the pavement, connecting everything into one perfect spiral. The town was alive. And it was waiting for him. The other side. The night after the bonfire, Ethan woke standing. He was barefoot in the middle of the town square. The fire pit still smoldered, casting long, crooked shadows across the ground. Around him, 8 other people stood in perfect formation, facing inward. None of them moved. Then, as if on cue, they all raised their heads toward the sky. Ethan tried to step back, but his feet wouldn't move. Something held him there, not hands, but something deeper, like invisible threads running through his veins. The spiral scar on his wrist burned white-hot. A sound filled the square. Not music, not words, just a low, endless hum. And then he saw it. The night itself seemed to ripple, like someone had dropped a stone into a pond. For a second, he could see something beyond the dark, a shape, tall and thin, standing at the far edge of the square. Its head tilted, like it was listening. When Ethan blinked, the shape was gone. The others lowered their heads and turned to leave, moving as silently as they had come. Ethan stumbled backward, gasping for breath, and finally ran. He didn't stop until he reached his house. Claire was waiting on the porch. "You were there," she said. "You knew?" She nodded. "I saw them heading to the square. I didn't follow. I figured you'd tell me yourself." Ethan's hands shook. "I couldn't move, Claire. It was like something was controlling me." She didn't answer. Instead, She handed him a small notebook. Found this under the floorboards in the cabin. Inside were pages of scrawled handwriting, Elias Thorne's journal. The final entry read: "The door is ready. The vessel will come. The night will walk." Ethan slammed the book shut. "They think I'm the vessel." Claire's jaw tightened. "Then we need to stop the ritual before it finishes." But Ethan didn't say the thing that scared him most. Part of him didn't want to stop it. The next day, he saw changes in the town. The missing deputy's car was gone, as if it had never been there. People seemed softer, like their faces blurred at the edges. And everywhere he went, someone was watching him. That night he dreamed again, but this time he didn't wake in his bed. He woke underground, standing in the great spiral chamber. Candles blazed on their own, and the spiral glowed with a pale light. A voice, neither male nor female, whispered in his ear. "Step into the center." He obeyed. When his foot touched the very heart of the spiral, the world turned inside out. The chamber melted away, and he stood in a place that wasn't Willow Creek, wasn't anywhere on Earth, a vast plain under a sky that pulsed like a living thing. Far away, figures moved, their shapes bending as though reality itself was bending around them. One of them turned toward him. And it was Elias Thorne. "You found the way," Thorne said. His voice echoed without sound. "You are closer than I ever was. Don't fear the night. It is the only thing that remembers." Ethan stumbled backward, and suddenly he was back in his own bed, drenched in sweat. But on the floor beside him, traced perfectly in dust, was a fresh spiral. Cracks in reality. For 3 nights in a row, Ethan woke up somewhere different. Once in his classroom, chalk dust on his hands. Once on the roof of the library, staring at the stars. Once at the edge of the river, shoes soaked. Each time, the spiral on his wrist glowed faintly in the dark. Claire was running out of patience. "You can't keep letting this happen," she said, pacing his kitchen. "Whatever it is, it's using you. It's pulling you closer." "I'm not letting it," Ethan said, his voice sharp. "I can't stop it." "You can fight it." But Ethan wasn't sure he wanted to. Because with each blackout, he felt stronger. Faster. His senses sharper, his thoughts clearer. He could hear conversations across the street, smell rain before it came. And then people in town began to change. The girl who'd shown Ethan the spiral drawing in her kitchen stopped coming to school. Her father claimed she was sick, but when Ethan drove past their house, he saw her standing in the yard, barefoot, staring at the sky. 3 more people disappeared in 1 week. No cars, no struggle, just gone. The sheriff called a curfew, but that night, Ethan saw half the town walking in the streets like sleepwalkers, silently moving toward the square. He followed them. The bonfire pit was cold, but the spiral in the ground glowed faintly, just like in his visions. The people arranged themselves in a perfect circle and waited. Then they all turned their heads toward him. "Ethan Cole," they said in one voice. He stumbled backward, heart hammering, but couldn't look away. "You are the center," they said. The next morning, Claire found him sitting on his porch, pale and shaking. "I think I saw the whole town last night," he whispered. "And they were waiting for me." Claire grabbed his shoulders. "Then we don't have much time. The ritual's almost complete." They spent the next day in the tunnels beneath Willow Creek, mapping every passage. At the deepest point, they found a sealed stone door, its surface carved with hundreds of spirals. Ethan pressed his hand against it. His scar glowed so brightly that Claire had to look away. The door shuddered, just once, as though something on the other side had touched it back. That night, Ethan didn't dream. He opened his eyes to find himself standing in the square again, but this time, everything was wrong. The buildings leaned at impossible angles, the sky was too low, the stars too bright. And at the center of the square stood Elias Thorne. "You're almost ready," Thorne said. "Ready for what?" "To open the door." When Ethan woke in his own bed, he could still feel the heat of Thorne's hand on his shoulder. The choice. Ethan couldn't sleep. Every shadow in his room seemed alive, stretching and curling like smoke. Every whisper in town felt like it carried his name. Claire knocked on his door just as the moon rose high. "It's happening tonight," she said. Her face was pale, determined. "The door. They're opening it." Ethan rubbed his scar. It throbbed, pulsing like a heartbeat. "I know," he said. "And I'm not sure I want to stop it anymore." Claire froze. "What do you mean?" "I feel stronger when it's near. Smarter. Connected. I've seen things, felt things I can't explain. The spiral, it's inside me now. Part of me." Her eyes widened. "You're not human anymore, Ethan. You can't let it win. Not like this." I don't know what's right," he admitted. By midnight, the townspeople gathered in the square, a silent, shifting mass. Ethan stepped into the circle, the scar burning brighter than the moonlight. From the shadows, Thorn appeared, taller than before, his eyes black pools. "The choice is yours," he said. "Embrace it, and the night will follow you. Reject it, and everything you've known will burn." Claire grabbed his arm. "You can fight it. You're still you." Ethan looked around at the crowd, some familiar, some altered by the spiral's power. Their eyes were blank, waiting, hungry. He felt the pull. A whispering that promised power, clarity, immortality. And yet, he remembered the girl who vanished, the deputy, the people trapped in the spiral's grip. With a deep breath, Ethan made his choice. He stamped his foot, and the scar flared white-hot. A shockwave rippled through the square. The townspeople stumbled, some screaming, others frozen. The spiral on the ground began to crack and crumble. Thorn stepped forward, voice furious. "You cannot undo what was set in motion." "I'm not undoing it," Ethan said, his voice steady. "I'm taking control." The scar burned into his palm, but this time it didn't hurt. It felt like awakening. The energy of the spiral flowed into him, and he redirected it, bending the night instead of being bent by it. Claire watched, tears in her eyes, as the shadows around the square shifted and then disappeared. Thorn's figure flickered. "No, this cannot be." And then he was gone. Ethan collapsed to the ground, exhausted but alive. Around him, the townspeople blinked, confused but free from the spiral's influence. The square was just a square again, the buildings straight and ordinary. Claire knelt beside him. "You did it," she whispered. Ethan's hands shook, but he smiled faintly. "I didn't just stop it. I survived it." Outside, the wind carried the faint sound of a whisper, like a memory of something lost. Ethan knew it wasn't gone forever. But for now, Willow Creek was safe. And for the first time in months, he could breathe. The aftermath. The morning after the confrontation, Willow Creek looked like itself again, sun spilling over the rooftops, children laughing on the sidewalks, and the distant smell of fresh coffee drifting from the diner. Ethan walked slowly through the town square. The spiral, the shadows, the whispers, all gone. Yet in his chest, he still felt its pulse, faint but persistent, a reminder that the night had left a part of him behind. Claire met him near the fountain. "You're alive," she said simply. Relief softened her voice. "I am," he replied. But not the same. The two of them sat on the edge of the fountain, silent for a long time. Around them, life returned to its rhythm. Neighbors mowed lawns, shopkeepers swept sidewalks, and the air carried the ordinary hum of a quiet town. I thought I'd lose you," Claire admitted. Ethan looked at her. "Part of me. I don't know, maybe I did. But I made a choice. And somehow, it worked." Days turned into weeks. Willow Creek slowly healed. People returned to school, work, and their routines. Yet the town seemed subtly changed, as if the memory of the spiral lingered just beneath the surface, shaping lives in ways no one could fully understand. Ethan returned to teaching, though the history lessons felt different now. He knew the past wasn't just facts in a textbook, it was alive, intertwined with the land, with the people, and with the shadows of what could have been. He kept a notebook hidden in his desk drawer, filled with the research he and Claire had gathered, maps, photographs, and journals. For now, he kept it secret. Some knowledge, he realized, could be dangerous. Claire stayed close, helping him navigate the subtle changes he felt inside. Sometimes, late at night, they walked the streets together, silently watching for anything that seemed out of place. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Ethan noticed a single spiral carved into the bark of an old oak near the square. Small, almost imperceptible. He ran his fingers over it and felt a faint warmth. A whisper of the night, not threatening, just waiting. Ethan smiled faintly. "Looks like it's not completely gone," he said. Claire shivered, then laughed softly. "Of course not. Some things, they never fully leave." Together, they walked back into town. The streets were calm, the people unaware, and yet Ethan knew the truth: the spiral had been defeated, for now, but the world still held mysteries beyond their understanding. And somewhere, in the folds of shadow and memory, the night waited, patient and eternal. But Ethan Cole was ready. For now, Willow Creek was safe, and he had survived.